Senator Kaine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Two of the witnesses, and this is really for the public, two of the witnesses, Dr. Cadlick and Mr. Dahmer, have described their positions as Assistant Secretary of War. The department is designated by congressional statute as the Department of Defense, not the Department of War. Congress has not authorized the name change. The current NDAA before us does not authorize a name change. As far as I'm concerned, there's no effort for Congress to make the name change. The president did this by executive order, but acknowledged it would take a congressional authorization, and it was an alternate name. I view it as a form of political cosplay. Cosplay isn't my thing, but to each his own. Mr. Dahmer, I want to ask you a question. Who invaded who in Ukraine in February 2022?
Senator, it's a military fact that Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022.
Thank you for being unequivocal about that. We've had witnesses before us in the past who've not been so unequivocal, and I appreciate that. Mr. Dahmer, I have posed a series of questions to the administration about ongoing military actions and publicly discussed potentially imminent military actions that I've not received answers for. And I want to ask you about any involvement you've had, not the content, but just whether you were involved. So have you had involvement in discussions about military strikes of boats in the Caribbean and Pacific near South America?
Yes, Senator.
And what role have you or your unit in this department with Bridge Colby played in those discussions? Again, not to get into the content of the discussions, but what role do you play in those discussions?
Senator, my current role, performing the duties of the Deputy Undersecretary for Policy, is to oversee various elements of the policy organization and to provide my policy advice. If confirmed, I would pledge to continue.
So actually, I'm not going to ask about the next step, but I just want to find out where decisions are being made. So you've been involved in discussions about this. Have you been involved in discussions about the legal rationale for those strikes?
I have heard some of the discussions on that, but certainly the Office of General Counsel is obviously the lead for the legal.
Thank you. We have not been provided the list that has been publicly disclosed. The fact of the list has been disclosed, but we have not been provided the identities of organizations on that list who are subject to presidential targeting. Have you been involved in discussion about the composition of that list?
No, Senator.
Okay. Have you been involved in discussion about particular strikes and whether there's sufficient evidence to warrant a strike in a particular case?
Yes, Senator.
Okay. One of the questions that I've asked is why strike rather than interdict? The U.S. is still interdicting narco-trafficking ships in many parts of the world. Have you been involved in discussions about the policy of when to strike versus when to interdict?
No, Senator.
The president has publicly disclosed that he's authorized covert operations in Venezuela. Have you been involved in any discussions about covert military operations in Venezuela?
No, Senator.
The president has indicated that he's contemplating land invasion of Venezuela. Have you been involved in any discussion about potential land invasion of Venezuela? And again, I'm not asking about the content of such discussions. I'm just trying to find out where discussions and decisions are being made.
Senator, our job at the Department of War is to plan for a range of contingencies. If in part of my role, if confirmed, would be to review the department's war plans.
But in the past, before you came in today, have you been involved in discussions about potential land operations in Venezuela?
Go ahead and finish your sentence and then answer the senator's question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, if confirmed, part of my role would be to assist the Undersecretary in his statutory Title X role of reviewing war plans, campaign, operational contingency plans. As the Secretary has been clear, the department plans for all ranges of contingencies, and that's part of our central role.
Could you please answer my question now?
Senator, I would be happy to brief you in a classified setting on this.
Again, I'm not going to ask but have you been involved in such discussions? I'm not asking you what the discussions were. Have you been involved?
Senator, I've been involved in a range of discussions
concerning land operations in Venezuela.
Senator, I would be happy to brief you in a classified
Let
setting.
me ask one last question. Have you been involved in any discussions about use of U.S. military within or against Nigeria?
Senator, I would point to the President's public comments and the Department and the Joint Force plans for a range of contingency operations.
You've answered a number of my questions about whether or not you've been involved, but with respect to military operations in Venezuela or military operations in Nigeria, you've refused to even say whether you've been involved in such discussions. I find that to be of significance. Can I just ask again about Nigeria? Have you been involved in discussions about military operations within Nigeria?
Senator, I'm aware of the President's public comments. The Department plans for a range of contingencies, and I would be happy to brief you in a classified setting.
I yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much.